Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and I would like to be angry and rant about something. My house was damaged in the big storm in June that pelted like 3 different counties. So I needed a new roof, and I've never had to deal with this shit before. So I tried to follow the process as best I could and not get fucked over. But here's the deal. When they came to give me a new roof, the joke goes is that your house is going to get roofed by Mexicans. My parents had their roof redone about 10 years ago. Guess who showed up? A crew full of Mexicans. When they showed up the morning that they did to redo my roof, they brought, wait for it, a crew full of Mexicans. Yep. 6 or 7 of them showed up, and there's no problem that they're Mexican. I don't care what color you are if you work on my roof. But here's the deal. I had worked the night before. I was tired as fuck. So I left for a while because starting at 7:30 a.m., they were ripping my old roof off. Right before I left, I have a cupola on my roof. It's like this little metal gabley box thingy on there for basically aesthetic purposes. It's supposed to look nice. So they pull the cupola off, and as I'm getting ready to leave, I see one of the Mexicans holding it. And he looks like he has no idea what to do, and he also looks nervous. So then all of a sudden, I go in the house, and I come back out, and I'm getting in my car, and I notice he's now standing in the dumpster holding the cupola. So I had to hop out of the ride, and I had to tell him, hey, senor, that's going back on the house. That's not garbage. We're putting that back on. And the foreman of the crew was like, oh, what's wrong? What's going on? I'm like, well, he's sitting there in the dumpster with my cupola, with that little gabley thingy. That's going back in the house. So make sure he doesn't throw that shit away or crush it with the weight of all the old shingles. So that was the first hiccup. Then, just as I'm leaving, the foreman left. He wasn't there for more than 10 minutes, and he left his crew unsupervised all fucking day. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a homeowner dealing with this shit for the first time, and knowing that they already have my insurance money, because I signed the check over to them to pay for the work, that they basically brought in this crew, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to slam bang it out in a day. I should have thought something was up. But I left for like an hour and a half, and I came back home, and I noticed that one of the Mexicans had a dead eye. Not that he had a nail gun and he was shooting apples off his friends' heads like William Tell. The guy had a milky white fucking eye that didn't work. And I thought to myself, well, I'm sure he's not going to mount any shingles all cockamamie and shitty like. I hope he's just the guy that picks up all the fucking construction material that's left over that they're throwing off the roof and puts it in the dumpster, because I'd pale to think that a gentleman with a physical handicap like that is going to be the world's best roofer. And call that discrimination against somebody with a slight handicap or not. It made me nervous. Also, as I'm walking up and I see this one-eyed Mexican, suddenly one of their wives are here. And another one has his girlfriend there. And it was getting towards lunchtime, so whatever, fuck it. Well, the girlfriend is this fucking Amazon of a Mexican broad. And she's rolling around one of those magnets on wheels, picking up nails and stuff. Cool. So she's sitting there and she's like eyeballing my baby. Like all whisper, like, oh, look at the little Pepito. Oh, she's so cute. And the other one is walking around with her fucking phone charger in her hand, and I knew immediately that the bitch was looking for an outlet. Now, I gave her permission. I said, oh, do you need an outlet to charge your phone? I have one in the back porch. Come, I'll show you. You can charge your phone. I did that out of the kindness of my own heart because I believe in being a nice person some of the time. I might not be a nice guy, but I am a good person, so I wanted to help her. But the point here is that whether or not I showed up, she was going to look for a place to plug that fucking phone in regardless. If that's not a microcosm of what people who hate immigrants believe, I don't know what else is. You got a Mexican that's here. I don't know her status, whether she's legal or illegal. And I'm not giving her permission to utilize the resources, but she was going to do it regardless. So it's like a respect thing. They come here. They don't care about the fact that they're illegal. They want to come here, get jobs. They want to get the fuck out of Mexico because it's a war-torn country. And by war, I mean a drug war where all the narcos are killing as many people as possible. The murder rate in Mexico has now become the second highest in the fucking world. I get it. You want to get away from there. Maybe you should pick up a gun, start a militia, kill the narcos, rather than come here, drain our resources. Because that's what they do, right? The illegals, allegedly, they come here and they use up all the resources and they just take and take and take and they don't really give much back. They try to fly under the radar. And if they get caught up or questioned, they flee to a different state and start a new life with other family. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, what a perfect example of this shit. This woman's not doing any favors to her own culture for any sort of societal stereotype. She's perpetuating it at best. So I let her fucking charge her phone. And then lunchtime comes, and two of them are taking a fucking siesta, like in a goddamn Speedy Gonzales cartoon with their hats pulled down over their faces, taking a slight rest. That's cool, but you're doing it leaned up against my front stoop.
So sleepy.
So now, I'm thinking to myself, this looks far too cartoony to ignore. I let it work. I don't know why they're into trap music, and I don't mean the EDM variety, I mean the rap variety. I mean, I guess it could have been like Mexican polka. That would have been like every stereotype that Family Guy portrays Consuela's family to be ever. But I thought they'd be done by like 8 p.m. They were done by 5:45 p.m.
Oh, man, what time is it?
And I go out there, and all right, it looks all right. I guess I didn't take too good a stock of it at first. And the next morning, I threw some extra shit in their dumpster because I wanted it gone. And I figured, why the fuck not? I'm paying for the dumpster. That's when I noticed that the bottom lip, the bottom row of shingles was all wonky. And I have gutters with gutter screens, and the gutter screens were bent and not placed properly. And the cupola had a dent in it that you could see all the way out from the street when the light reflected off it, as it tends to do 8 to 14 fucking hours a day. And I got pissed off, and I called the guy who was the foreman of the crew. And I'm like, look, are you the guy that was out here photographing the work about 10 minutes ago? Oh, yeah, I was taking that for, the inspector. Like, okay, well, here's the deal. Did you notice what I noticed? That the bottom row of shingles looked like absolute shit? That it looks like a fucking retarded person was in charge of that? It's all wavy and mismatching, and the gutter screens are bent up, and if there's a stiff wind that comes, it could rip that bottom row off. I'm like, it looks fucking terrible, and you need to fix it. And then I hung up on him. And then I let him leave me a message saying that a day or two later, he's going to come and fix it. It's rainy, so he'll do it tomorrow. And I'm not going to name the company because I don't want to slander them. He came and he fixed it. It looks great now. He did the work that this crew of people that they hired to do the work didn't bother to fucking do. And I know I'm not alone because there are thousands of people in this same situation. It is frustrating that they come and they have one job, roof a house. That's all you do, right, is roof a house. You're a roofer? Well, fucking roof it right. And he apologized for the crew and said, well, these aren't our regular people, and our company's going to be around next year, and they won't. So that leads me to believe that you had scab fucking immigrant labor come and put a new roof on my house, and that you just got somebody who was some fly-by-night coming into town that knew how to do the work, and you could pay him on the cheap to increase your profit margins, which is the American way, right? That's what businesses do. Increase profits, basically at the expense of the customer. I was pissed. I have to tell this story because it left me fucking enraged to the point that I called a man that I should have been nice to and just calmly explained my feelings, and I fucking shouted into the phone, and I cussed, but I'm like, it looks fucking terrible. Fix it. I didn't say you need to fix it. I said, fix it. And I fucking hung up on him. I guarantee I'm not the only person in the current climate of home repair because there's, in my neighborhood, hundreds of houses with signs in their yards. This is why there's kind of a conflict of interest with do-it-yourselfers and the insurance industry. The reason that they hold the money and cut you a check for a depreciative portion of it. And they only give it to you, the remaining portion. They release those funds once the work's done by a professional company and it's been inspected. Because they don't want people say they're going to do all this work and then they don't do it and they just take the insurance claim money and basically commit fraud. I get why they do that. But also as a homeowner, maybe you want to fix it yourself. Maybe you deserve those funds because you pay the money to the insurance company, which is supposed to insure you and give you back the money you've put in because you're buying the service, but they reluctantly give you your money back because that's what insurance companies do. They basically hope you never need their service, but they'll gladly take your money and they'll fuck you any way they can.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.
So, I mean, you got that war of mindsets. Oh, they want money. You need money. They don't want to give it depreciative value. Fuck you. No, fuck you. I really wish the storm never would have happened. I mean, as much as I got a chance to meet some of my neighbors because a tree fell across the street blocking the end of my driveway, and me and a guy kitty corner from me who's a tree limber went out there with his pole saw, and we cleared the street. Not just for my driveway, not because I wanted his help, not because we were just helping the lady whose tree fell, but to be good neighbors, a sense of community. And then I went driving around, and I actually went and stopped a few times, got out of the car, and either moved branches out of the street or dug armfuls of debris out of storm drains so that the main access point of my neighborhood wouldn't continue to flood. Once again, I might not be the nicest guy, but I am a good person, goddammit. So don't take advantage of me by bringing Jorge and Chewy and the rest of the roofers club that you found outside of a fucking Home Depot or somewhere and have them do a half-assed job of putting the roof on my house. Time will tell whether or not that I'm getting my money's worth. I paid for a, quote, retail upgrade to shingles that are rated for an additional 5 years. And they do it, and they slam it up quick, and they put it on the house, and they throw away all that stuff, and they take the dumpster the next day so you don't inspect all the fucking packaging that the shingles came in. I saved one bundle because they left them behind because, fuck it, I already paid for it. They also left behind some coils of nails and some roof vent spray paint that I kept because, once again, I fucking paid for it. So you need to be an informed homeowner when dealing with this shit. Find out if you're actually getting what you paid for. Because the insurance company was going to pay for siding on one face of my house, my roof. My shed got all pelted with hail and looks like shit. My gutter screens got pelted. My downspouts got pelted. Some of my window wraps got pelted. And I had to decide what I was and wasn't going to fix to save enough money to pay for my, here we go,
$1,000 deductible.
To get the money from the insurance company, I need to come up with $1,000. I kind of liken it to large musical act tours that take small town bands with them on tour, but make them pay to play. Meaning that you buy the tickets for the clubs, and then you have to sell them yourself. You have to put in the work to get the people in the door on your own accord to earn your money back, when basically the notoriety of the headliner should be enough to generate some buzz to get people in the door to discover your band and thus become fans. A lot of bands do it. It's to help fund the tour because record companies aren't what they used to be. Music industry isn't what it used to be. They need that money to keep the tours going. That's how they make their money. They suffer for their art. But that's basically the point is, imagine if you paid a woman to suck your dick, but you asked her to buy you lunch or to bring her own beverage, to pay you for whatever can of Coca-Cola you gave her to rinse the taste to come out of her mouth when she was done with you. That's essentially what it's like. Hey, do you want this $11,000 check for your roof to be redone? Then give us $1,000. Well, fuck, I haven't had to do this a lot, so I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm going to go along with it.
God f***ing damn it!
Dicks. I was able to not fix enough stuff to save the $1,000 and then some more to pay for the retail upgrade and the deductible because they wanted $300 and some to redo a couple of barely dented roof vents that they just could have spray painted, and another $167 to take down and remount my TV antenna on my roof. I have one of those big, jaggedy, fucking looking 1980s TV antennas, which is hooked up to my high-def TV so I can get local channels for free. It's a monstrosity, But I saved $167 taking it down myself and putting it back up myself. Which, by the way, for something like that, taking it down consisted of cutting 3 zip ties so that the coax cable could be detached, and then using a crowbar to pull 3 nails out of my roof to take it down. And then putting 3 nails back in the new roof and using 3 fucking zip ties to reattach the coax cable. That's $167 worth of work. I bet you I spent a combined 20 minutes on the whole thing. And that's just because I was nervous getting on the roof the first fucking time because I don't like heights. So nobody's probably still listening at this point, and maybe I don't blame you, but the moral of the story is you get what you pay for, and you need to be actively involved in the process so you don't get fucked, because when there's storm damage, they advertise all over the radio, don't get some fresh into town company that drives from storm-ravaged area to slam bang through the work and just get your insurance money. Or, heaven forbid, you sign a contract for work and they skip town with your insurance check. I'm getting the work done on my house. Hopefully you are too. Hopefully everybody around me is. The people next door get the same company and their roof looks dynamite. Hopefully mine ends up looking awesome too. So get involved with the process and don't get fucked. Don't be a victim. It's a hell of a lot harder to get your money back once they've already taken it from you than it is before you take the necessary steps to prevent yourself from getting effed in the A. Because nobody wants a B full of D. Crew full of Mexicans. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann. And that's the end.
Un paviocito negro, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo los